What's up, everybody? Please like and subscribe, comment, and share on our videos. Grasshopper and the Bear.
Salve.
Morena Capoeira, you're here. This is awesome.
Okay. I'm super excited to be here. Though things have been crazy, it worked out. So super psyched.
I understand. Thank you for making the time. Really appreciate it. I've been looking forward to this. I've been messaging you and letting you know. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Me too. Same here. It actually worked out better this morning because I was able to listen to the rest of your podcast all afternoon episodes. I thought there was only one. I didn't realize there was more. So I listened to all of them and I forward them to some of my students too, because I just got so much out of it. So I just felt calm and peaceful after listening to it, and that I'm not the only one dealing with things. So very good. Congratulations on that. And anyone who wants to listen to your podcast, please tell me that how they can listen to it.
They can go on Anchor. I think I'm mostly on Spotify right now, but I'm Rooted Strength Method. It's actually this logo right here.
Cool.
Yeah, Rooted Strength Method. If you're watching and not listening, you can see it's a tree, right?
Very cool tree.
Yeah, a very colorful tree. I actually have a whole meaning to this. This is a lot for me. This is my logo, and it represents the different phases that we go through in life for me and through our athletic journey. It's so cool that you were like, oh, it's great. I didn't feel crazy, because it's so hard. We go through these things, through these difficulties, through these struggles without feeling supported because we're afraid to talk about it, right? We're afraid to tell people we're vulnerable, tell people that we're not doing okay or things are difficult, because maybe it's a baby thing and we're martial artists, so we don't do that. We don't go to that side. But really, in my experience, it's been the more together we are and the more okay with being vulnerable we are, then the easier it is to keep people in the art. And I'm moving the pieces to let people know of my message, but because I am a mother and I am working, I teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I teach Capoeira, I've been in between countries, and finally I'm settled, but there's always something going on. But then at some point I was like, I'm just waiting for time to be right. The time will never be right. There's always going to be some kind of a struggle. There's always going to be some kind of a difficulty. It just came to the point where the reason why I do my work is because I don't like to see my friends broken. I really don't. And a lot of them leave. They leave the art. Oh, I can't even train anymore, Morena. It's old age. And then you're like, that cannot be my reality. I don't want that reality. I want to be one of those people who's able to, punch some pads around when I'm in my 80s, do an AU, have a game. And then not even, right? But not even just that, man. Maybe, just maybe, hopefully the way I'm going, I will have physical independence to be going to the bathroom on my own, to not need all that help. Because I see my grandmother and she's 83, her mind is super there, thank goodness, but her body is not keeping up with it. And when I look at it, I'm like, it's just sad to me that could be my reality if I'm not careful as of now, especially being a martial artist. I mean, the things we do to our body are good and bad, right?
I agree. I see where you get your drive from to push this message, talking about your grandmother and those things. I see where the motivation comes from.
Yeah. I am a mother of two. I have a 14-year-old boy and I have a 3-year-old girl. So it's quite the difference in dynamic. And then I have my husband, who is my amazing partner, also my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu teacher, also my Capoeira student. Also, I do a couple of other things. So he's my boxing coach, my MMA coach. And I practice a bunch of things just because there's so much to learn, right? there's so much to learn. Everything is so amazing and things fit together. And I also do unconventional training, right? As of the last time we've spoken, the really cool thing is I specialize in the steel mace and the
And the
kettlebells.
kettlebell. That's right. Sorry, I left that out. My
Yeah.
fault. Please talk about that too.
No, it's okay. So I actually, because of the pandemic and this thing, I do advocate for women postpartum because both of us, we leave. It's too hard for us to stay sometimes without the support, with the pains, with the difficulties. So because I couldn't leave the house, I was by myself. My husband was in another country. I'm like, okay, I can't get to the gym to do the regular, I've been lifting for years. I'm an athlete. I've professional jiu-jitsu competitor for a long time. So I'm used to having a personal trainer, training. And then I was like, you know what, maybe I'm going to start studying and I'm going to learn how to do this on my own. So that's when I started through NASM, and then I went to physio training, and then I went to Kettlebell Kings Living.fit, and then I did the expert kettlebell course there because I had some kettlebells laying around, and then I didn't realize how good they are for cross training other arts. It was mind blowing.
Okay.
And I did, yes, like your explosion gets better. You can become a faster runner without ever running. And it moves the body how it should be, meaning I'm able to weight train, which is the only thing that keeps us from losing bone mass as we age, is really weight bearing exercise. I can weight train for the rest of my life, leaving my joints nice and healthy. I was like, this is great. So that gave me freedom to start, I opened my business from home and all of that. And then the steel mace came into my life. And then, which is the long metal stick with the ball in the end. So the reason why I'm saying that's because people usually don't know what it is. And then I started seeing these practices. The kettlebell is like what? Almost 800 years old is the first time a kettlebell word came out on the Russian dictionary, because it comes specifically from Russian, and there are different styles, but there's so much science behind it. And it has to do with breathing. Both modalities have to do with breathing, with grounding, with meditation, and with brain over just muscle, because we want to keep the body young by exercising the brain and what it needs to do. And then the really cool thing is I also did my test from home. So we were talking about, Mestre Coreba, who's Mestre Mão Branca's student. He landed me the keys to his gym, right? And I got a babysitter for 2 days on the weekend to be with my daughter. And I had zero sleep. And I went there for the grueling 2 days of the steel mace, and I passed it, and it felt like amazing.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you. But the best part is, though I've only been training from home, just recently I got called to join them. So now I'm a trainer for them.
Yes, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so excited because you see, people have been doing this forever. And my mechanics are really good with it because I train often. But you know what, man? My mechanics are good at anything I do because of capoeira.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, anything. It doesn't matter what I do. Capoeira is so complex that everything almost looks easy. I mean, in jiu-jitsu, you do have power, right? You have power, like in jiu-jitsu, you have to worry about the power and the timing because things are just precise. But if you're going through a drill pattern, you're like, oh, okay, you get on your side. Same thing if you're hitting pads. I mean, there are many things that will take you a while, like feeling comfortable in your body with those movements, but they're not really like vast. You're not going to learn, wow, a lot, but capoeira is a lot. Everything else seems like it's so little when you're like, oh, I don't have to play instruments. I don't have to sing. I don't have to know that much history. Right. And you're like, oh, okay. So, and then I just put it together. Everything just came together. The breath work that I started doing, which is why can I talk about my logo real quick? I want to talk about
absolutely. Please.
Okay.
Everyone listen about this logo. Check this out, please.
So I started doing breath work through pregnancy. When I was pregnant with my daughter, that took me a really long time to be able to conceive. I went through loads of treatment. I went through lots of treatment. It was easy to conceive my son. For my daughter, it was difficult. And then when I was finally able to conceive, unfortunately, they passed a new law in the US, which told me that I needed to move to the States to finish the legalization process for my husband and my mother.
I'm sorry. And listeners, this is all on her podcast on Anchor, by the way. All these stories, the way what happened to her after she got her NASM certificate, what she went through, pregnant. I'm sorry if I got to say it. You got to listen to these stories. These stories are incredible. All on her podcast called Rooted
Strength Method.
rooted strength method on Anchor, on Spotify. Listen to those. Sorry, continue.
Thank you. No, thank you so much. The reason why I wanted to touch upon this history a little bit, because what happened was I had no emotional management. So I was back in the country pregnant. Everybody knows when you cry pregnant, you ugly cry. And when you laugh, it's wonderful. You know, it's like the both extremes. And I have anxiety. I have diagnosed anxiety, social anxiety, even being a martial artist and being in martial arts helped me battle all of that. And which is why I really love what I do, because it did so much for me. And without emotional management, and then I'm like, oh my God, this is so difficult. How can I take care of children? I don't even know how to take care of myself. Being on your own, right? Because then you realize how much you need, or how much your partner, you know, I was holding
Helps.
both ends. I was like, wow, okay, his end was tough too. My end was tough too. So I started doing breath work through hypnobirthing. That's what it's called. So I did a process through hypnobirthing. Hypnobirthing teaches you breath work, visualization, and meditation in order for you to understand how to let your body naturally go through the birthing process without needing medication. I wanted a natural birth. Wow. This is what I wanted really bad, because I figured we were going to go through so many trials, which we did. And I'm in the other end. And I'm so glad that I did that. So I was like, I need better emotional management. So I also want to have this experience for me, because I don't want to have any more children, but I would like this experience. It's special to me. It's a special moment, right? And I lived in the United Arab Emirates, and over there, they really do believe that you're closer to God when you're feeling birth pains, right? So I was like, I will have this experience for me. My mother did it. The mother of my mother did it. Like my family comes from a place where we all had natural birth. So I was like, I want the experience. And then I started doing hypnobirthing. Hypnobirthing takes you to several different breathing techniques to learn how to pain manage, as well as to learn how to visualize. You're constantly visualizing. I was used to visualizing because you do that in martial arts, right? You learn a technique, you go home, or the timing is wrong, you go home and you keep visualizing the same moment over and over. And then ways that could be, right? Or you have that person inside of you. So through breath work, I started this whole journey. So my logo, if you look here at the roots of it, it's actually lungs, right? But it's a uterus. Yeah. So it's
lungs. Uterus, upside down. Yeah.
I know. Isn't that cool?
That's crazy. So, creative. Nice.
Yeah, because after I started breathing and rooting, so I do things that we're supposed to do as humans, right? We're supposed to be walking, hunting, gathering, connecting with nature. There's so much that can leave you better inside. Simple things like waking up in the morning and going outside right away, taking a breath, or just taking conscious time not to touch your phone and breathe. So I was like, okay, breathing has been the best, because we know it when we're training too, when our partner hits us and we start going, you know, you gas out, you can't focus, you can't see cleanly, people almost move faster, they're stronger. So I was like, okay, breath. And then a tree, more because of resilience, right? I needed to understand we are resilient. We're humans. We're very resilient. We go through so much and we adapt. So thinking about a tree that will be able to bend, be flexible, not rigid, right? And then I have the colors more because of seasons. And I think that's what happens to us that's wrong in the martial arts world. We think that we need to be training the same all the time, right? Oh, when I was younger, when I was at my height, I used to. And then when you go back to training, as your body ages in the art, you're holding on to an experience that's no longer accessible to you, because your body has changed, your principles have changed, even the way you look at the game, at boxing, at fighting. It doesn't matter what art you're doing. Sometimes you're there, you really want to go into it. Sometimes you're like, you know what? I'm going to see if my dodging really works. Sometimes you start building traps. Sometimes there's so many things that you can do around one concept of just fighting. And then there's the difficulties of training with an injury, training without sleep, training when you're not feeling your best, training as your muscles ache as you get older, right? So I feel like what's missing is us looking inside enough to understand what it is that our body is asking of us, right? And I can't really do that for you. Like you can't really do that for me. right? But then one of the important things was is through breath work and through mindfulness, which is being in the here now and feeling the sensation and honoring all these feelings that come with you. Because as a martial artist, you know, it takes you so long to manage your emotions. It takes you so long to get punched in the face to really not get angry. That took me forever.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends who it is too. Like I might still go up there real fast, depending on how it is, the kind of, and sometimes I'm reactive, right? And it takes so long for you to be like, you know what? You take a punch to the face and you're like, let me breathe and see where it is that I got set up.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, oh snap, it's going down now, you know, because
or just analyze or thinking about too much about the punch and what happened. It already happened. You gotta make a quick take and then move on and just focus on not letting it happen again, and don't live in the past in that moment, you know?
Exactly. Even worse. So like my husband, he was a pro MMA fighter. He had a couple of belts around the area. And when we train together, you know, the husband and wife thing is very difficult training together. It's so hard. It's so difficult.
I've got a little section on that too for this interview. I'm going to get there. I have a really good section.
I'm throwing it out there because it's difficult. And he would tell me, because I have a lot of expressions on my face, right? Like because of the lines. If people don't know, I'm from the north part of Brazil. So I look indigenous because I am indigenous by roots. So my face is very like, I look angry, right? Not to you, because you know me, you know I'm not, you know, but people will be like, why are you angry? I'm like, what do you mean? I'm just paying attention. So he would tell me when we sparred that I was letting him know what upset me when I had certain expressions in my face during the fight. And he would purposely do it over and over to upset me more.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Make me confused.
Oh man.
To make me confused.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. So for instance, okay, we'll keep it stand up. You know, people who have that annoying jab. Okay, that annoying jab. The annoying jab that hits you in the nose over and over. But instead of you understanding that the jab is coming in, you're like, oh, I gotta cover, my base needs to be a little better. Okay, I have to move my head more, right? He would make me draw the alphabet with my body over and over. Boom, 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 boom. And then he hits you and you go, just like in the Roda, they hit you and then your face changes, your aura changes, and then forget about control. This is it, we're just whipping it. So it took me a while to understand emotional management within the Roda as well, because, and then when I found out I had anxiety, I was like, wow, I had some borderline panic attacks during the sparring sessions. You know,
yeah, I've seen that happen before in front of me. Yeah,
it's happened to me, but I was so tough through my conditioning that I would wait until I reached the bathroom to have it. Like during it would be coming up, you know, but I'd wait until I reached the bathroom. Yeah, because I think as a female, as an athlete in general, or capoeira, the way it used to be old school, right? You have capoeira in the late 90s, early 2000s. It was still tough. It was rough, and you were taught to hate and you were taught to compete.
The logo, when I seen the logo, when you mentioned briefly your podcast on Anchor, just reading the words, I'm not kidding you, when I first came upon it, rooted, I felt more rooted in the moment. Just reading the words and then seeing the tree put me at peace. And then, of course, everyone listen to our podcast, Rooted Strength Method on Anchor, on Spotify. You're going to feel, after you listen to you listen to Morena talk about her stories, her experiences, and just the way you're a great storyteller, you're just going to feel, so people listening and feel so much, I don't know, better, rooted. They're going to feel more rooted. So anyway, sorry. Okay. Listen to our podcast on Anchor. Okay. Rooted Strength Method. So good. And they're only short episodes. They're 15-minute episodes or so. You just knock them out while you're in traffic, and they're just amazing. So I got a lot of answers and information from listening to your podcast today about how you became so good at English, which I was wondering. I mean, you're phenomenal. Your English and your understanding of like American culture, being a native Brazilian, is just amazing to me. It's such a superpower. That's so awesome. I've been wondering, how does she speak English and Portuguese so good? How do you translate in your Instagram stories in English, and then you do another one in Portuguese? Props, okay? Props. That is amazing that you do that. I appreciate it. And it's going to help so many people that you can do that. Not everyone can do that. And listen to her podcast if you want to find out why she speaks English so good. The discrimination you face from your own family about, you touch on your podcast about your looks. and also that you were bullied. I thought I was the only one that was bullied in that way, that was terrorized, hunted down in some ways. You were when you were in. Did that happen in the United Emirates, or that happened in California or in the United States?
Upstate New York, man.
Upstate New York. Okay, of course. No, just kidding. But yeah, and I was too. Again, maybe in another time, another place, I'll get into my story, how I was too. But I don't understand it because you seem like the nicest person. I was always the nicest, gentlest guy. I was just tall and skinny, and everyone wanted to beat my face in. I have no understanding why. I believe that these experiences that you went through forged you into the woman and the fighter, the martial artist, the leader, and the person that you are today. So if you ever were bullied and you ever feel like, suicidal or you're miserable, anyone listening, hang in there, because you can become Morena Capoeira, a powerful Wonder Woman. So props on that. I gotta give you your flowers today. Travel now, giving Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu seminars, Capoeira seminars. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. Besides working in a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school for Link, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Team Link. Is that Gabriel Gonzaga's gym, by the way?
It was once upon a time, but now like they had a split a while back. But Team Link is pretty big actually now.
No, definitely, yeah. I've heard of it. And where is that you and your husband teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Right now we're in the main gym, which is in Ludlow, Massachusetts.
Okay, and it's called Team Link.
Team Link BJJ, yes.
Okay, if anyone's in the area, check them out, please. Okay, high-level black belts, teaching Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and giving good vibes. So I really could spend all day talking about MMA and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I want to take this opportunity to talk about my first love in martial arts, which was Capoeira. Okay, and by the way, I'm sure you get this all the time, Morena, from men and women, but the little that I've known you and got the pleasure to get to know you through Instagram messages, setting up this interview, I feel like you're my soul sister from another mister, you know what I mean? And I'm sure that comes from you just being the great person that you are. I'm sure you get that all the time, but I really feel like that. And I'm enjoying this, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I feel like everyone deserves like a very unique, attentive interaction. You know what I mean? I treat everyone with care because I really think that people deserve care, So thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. No, and you do that. So now, Capoeira. It's a 400-year-old martial art and dance art form, as you know, that originated in Brazil by slaves from Africa and was developed in the quilombos. It's also one of the most widely practiced art forms in the world and is featured in movies, commercials, and ads all over the world, everywhere you look. I myself did a Carl's Jr. commercial back in the day doing capoeira for Univision Network. So yeah, back in the days. And it is the most difficult, in my opinion, of all martial arts. And I mean that respectfully to all martial arts, because I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I do boxing, I do MMA, I do Muay Thai, I do Dutch kickboxing, the whole nine, okay? I think people have no idea in general how many capoeiristas there are in the world, okay? I think people don't realize how big capoeira is and how deep it is. My Capoeira Mestre told me one time, he said, Gafa, if you put it here, all the capoeiristas in the world against like another art form or sport martial art, the capoeiristas are going to outnumber them by a lot. I remember he told me that back in the days. And also people, the public, and I don't mean this in a negative way, they don't know how powerful an art is, how deeply it's practiced and respected by its practitioners, and how deep the history and the lore of it goes. Capoeira has its own type of method of sparring. It's called the jogo in the roda. So even though it's not known as putting on shin guards and gloves and mouthpiece and going full contact, capoeiristas have an incredible sense of timing, flexibility, strength, dexterity, toughness, agility, and they're in incredible shape. I'm almost like a gymnast at times. But I miss being in a group. I know COVID messed so much up. I miss the camaraderie. I miss all the capoeira jokes. Capoeira has its own language, its own lingo. When I was back in the days when I was young, everything was about capoeira. Every inside joke was a capoeira movement. I miss that. Talk about your experiences being in the capoeira group. Who was your mess today? And talk about capoeira now for you.
Okay, so I am under FICAG, which is Fundação Internacional Capoeira Artes das Gerais. It is a group based out of Belo Horizonte, Minas Gerais. The founder is Mestre Museu. My master is Mestre Zé Com Fome. who is right now in Sarasota, right? He was not my first mestre, actually. He was not. I began with Morena Capoeira, which is the old group that Mestre Boy used to be a part of. He went to Axé after, then left Axé. But my mestre, he left us one day. He left us, and I met my current mestre. I met him in my batizado. So I was in my batizado. I had already been practicing capoeira for about 2 years. I started in 1998. I've been in capoeira for a good while. But since I've been in and out of the country, it's like I've had many different experiences in capoeira, right? So I started capoeira because I was like, oh, I saw it in Brazil, but my mother was very much against it. Even when I started practicing, she was against it because in Brazil, a lot of Brazilians would think that capoeira is part of macumba, and it's things, macumba, which is like, candomblé, voodoo, they call it voodoo, or saying capoeira is voodoo because capoeira is Afro-Brazilian, right? Afro-Brasileira. Afro-Brazilian martial art, meaning like it has roots in African culture, which is what candomblé is, right? The drums, the samba itself is like one of the longest standing African traditions we still have in Brazil, samba. And it's like, Brazilian, but really it's like one of the older forms. And there are other forms that, left as time went by, like the batuque, which is part of Capoeira Regional, came from that. There are many cool traditions in Brazil, but Brazil is vast. Brazil is like a mix. There's so much going on in there. In Brazilian culture is both warming and a little bit complex, right? You kind of have to know your ins and outs. People kind of make fun of you, you make fun of them. It's a different culture, but it's like Brazilians are, when a capoeirista, he does capoeira throughout everything, even in his language, right? You're always doing a esquiva, and then you're throwing a ponteira, you're always kind of like going back and forth in capoeira. It is the toughest martial art, I agree with you, but it is liberation. That's what it was invented for. It was invented in the quilombos. It was invented by the African slaves in Brazil to look like a dance, to be masqueraded as a dance in order for them to be able to gain their liberty, go against oppression and the moment that they were having there. And there are many, capoeira has a lot of music and folklore, and a lot of the music is really a way of preserving history. That's what it is. So right now, as I'm going back, and right now I'm in a big musical path because I just hurt my knee. So I was like, okay, my knee's healing. So while my knee's healing, it's fine. It's going to heal, but I have to give it time and patience. But since capoeira is so vast, I can study history, I can study music, I can study so much. Even the traditional musics, like vou dizer a meu senhor que a manteiga derramou, a manteiga não é minha, a manteiga é de ioiô. I'm going to tell the slave owner that the butter dropped on the ground. They used to do this for games back then. They would give a little bit of butter to one of the slaves and they would take it to the slave owner, but usually it would be very far, so it would melt and drop on the ground. So that's what it's about. It's about a struggle of a time, right? And then we have it that it's passed on. Yeah, that's what it is about, storytelling. And then the capoeira, like you said, is different, right? The sparring session of a capoeirista is within the roda, a roda meaning a circle, right? With a live orchestra, right? And then there's a whole link between the orchestra and then everyone who's giving you energy around, right? You have people clapping. And then capoeira is, we want to get to a point where it's almost like
trance-like sometimes, right?
Yes, and also the music and the question and answer becomes a meditative state in between the orchestra, the people who are around, and the players in the hall. Have you ever been in the hall and the music is so good and the energy is so good? You're like, wow, I just did some ninja thing. I don't even know what I did, but I know it was effortless.
Mm-hmm. You caught the capoeira Holy Ghost.
Yes, exactly what it is, because it's a vibration, right? We meditate. Vibration is proven by science now. Even the colors of the chakra system, that's all proven by science now, but people don't talk about it because,
almost like chanting too, in a way, right?
That's exactly what it is. It will be chanting. So sometimes they'll just do corridos, which is question, answer, question, just so you can get into that mode where the energy is calling you so much. You're like, you can't help it. You have to move, right? But then capoeira also makes you pay attention to a lot at the same time. So you're there playing in the game, right? And then you have to pay attention to your arms that are doing the opposite of your legs, that are doing the opposite of how the fluctuation of the roda is around. And just like a ring, you have to take control of the ring, right? You want to be maneuvering inside the roda. You have to make sure you didn't get out of bounds. You have to make sure you're paying attention to what the music is telling you to do, because the music is dictating the rhythm. It's dictating the rules of the game, right? Every game has its set of rules. And then because capoeira is so vast, it's not like jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is the same everywhere. You know, an armbar is always going to be an armbar. Maybe in capoeira na armada will always be an armada, but the rules of the game will change depending on the house you're in, right? And when I found capoeira for the first time, it was right down the street. My mother didn't like it. I played ball like every other Brazilian. You know, can't be Brazilian and not play some soccer.
Okay, before we get to soccer, while you're talking about the roda and the rules and how the game can change, the meaning of the movements can change. Everyone listening, if you aren't, and when I say that, I mean people who aren't very familiar with capoeira, although I'm sure a lot of capoeiristas will listen to this and they'll be like, can he stop explaining things? But I want to just, to the general audience, I want more people to do capoeira. Capoeira is the only martial art where you're sparring per se. We call it jogando, right? Jogo, playing, but it's play sparring. And sometimes it can be intense at times. It's the only martial art where you can save your friend in a way if he's getting beat up. We call that bind, right? Compra, in a way, correct?
You can and you can't. It depends on the rule. But yeah, so let me speak in a lower tone for people who don't know about the art of capoeira, right? So capoeira, it can be practiced in any level. You can be like a 60-year-old person and you can train capoeira, because it's not just about the acrobatics, it's about positioning, it's about intention, it's about the flow of your movement. How seamless can you make someone believe what you're not doing? Capoeira is so interesting, because body language becomes your friend. It's like a dance that can lead to so many things. And there aren't rules. So if the game is slower, I can throw kicks at a slower speed, but nothing says that I can't throw a fast one in there either. So it also teaches you distance, natural reflex, because you learn how to flow. And then the really cool thing about capoeiristas is they can look at you from any position, right? See the dude in the middle of a backflip, he's checking you out. Maca checking you out, kicking, checking you out, upside down, handstand, whatever you're doing, you're always looking at your partner. And I noticed that, like I said before, helps me in anything, but you have to follow the rhythm, but you also, you get to lose yourself in there a little bit, right? It's just so fun. It is so fun. It radiates fun. And when you're in capoeira, and as capoeiristas, we say that you don't pick capoeira picks you, because the love you feel when the instruments are like in tune. And this is coming from the girl who lived in the Middle East, and the only berimbau she heard was her own for a while. Damn. So I'm like, wow, I've been going to these events and I'm listening to all these amazing like musicians in a live bateria. It's like going to a concert and listening to an amazing person perform almost so much. It makes you want to sing along. It makes you want to move. And capoeira has that, which is so Brazilian, right? Us.
Yeah. Music synonymous with the Brazilian culture. Music and rhythm. Yes, music and rhythm. And then you're saying, you're like, oh, I'm a capoeirista. And then you have to clap and sing is already hard. Clap, sing, and pay attention. That's already the first step. Clap, sing, and pay attention. Okay. Then you're in there, you have to pay attention to the rules. You have to pay attention to the instruments. Who are you hitting? But then when I speak to people who are in capoeira, and oftentimes I do my best to try to guide people who want information. I have more than they have. If they ask me questions, I try my best to give them valuable information that's going to help their growth, because I want everyone to grow, right? So then you come into capoeiristas, you speak to different capoeiristas and you're like, no, capoeira, your view of the game, and that's any art, your view of the game are like different glasses, right? As you get better, things become clearer and you can see more, right? When you're a beginner, you only see what's in your face. Someone falls, you understand who lost and who won. Someone got hit in the face, you clearly understand who's lost and who's won. But then as you get older, the view is,
dude cut off your space when you try to get into something. Oh, he blocked me before I even got in there, you know, because when you're fighting for a long time, that's what you're paying attention to. You're like, I was going to move there, but he moved there before because he understood that that's what's going to happen. So then it starts to get, the game gets more complex, right? It's like, what can I do? How can I make them believe? And then capoeira is very like, you have to transform things. And it looks like it's choreographed. If you're new and you're watching a game, you're like, oh, they choreographed this before. They train this all the time together, because the kicks will be coming like hair thin close and you won't be getting hit. That's because you trust your range in that space so much and what your body can do in there, that you will just keep your eyes open as you see a kick coming right by your face, and you're transforming it with a smile in your face into some kind of acrobatic that maybe afterwards will become a kick or a hand movement or a laugh or, you know, a breakdown of emotions and body language. There's so much that can happen in capoeira, and it could be as docile and as lethal as you want. It depends what kind of game you're looking for, and then the environment, right? Like, I know that some places I go to, I need to be ready, but I know some places I go to, I need to make sure that I let people be comfortable, or else I won't have the game I want. Because my
so complex, so complex at times.
Yeah, it is. You're right. You're right. It's still complex, but then you're coming, look, me, I come from martial arts background. When you see me play, you see it in there. It's in there. You see that I'm paying attention to everything. You see that if I hit, I'm going to hit hard. Not because I'm stronger than everyone, but just because I understand how to move my body so well for that to happen with power, because I do it for so long. And you have no better superpower than consistency. Nothing. Doesn't matter what you do. If you're consistent, you can be the most horrible at it. But if you're consistent, at some point you get good. That's it. You either get good or you get good. There's no way. There's no way.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. I really want to talk about your recent trip that you took, a couple of events. But first, I did watch a couple of your games that I found briefly on Instagram. You're very, 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 very good. I've studied a lot of capoeiristas deeply, especially in my youth. Been to Brazil twice for 2 months, and I traveled all over different parts of Brazil. Played in Bahia, played in Salvador, played in the Northeast, played in Ilhéus, San Jose dos Campos, everywhere, São Paulo. You're very, 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 very skillful capoeirista. You're very flexible, great flexibility in your kicks. It's amazing to watch. And you have a great game. So on that, very nice to watch you play capoeira in the clips that I saw. I would like for you to share, recently you took some capoeira trips. You wanted to prove that, or help demonstrate to people that even though you have a lot of responsibilities in life, really important responsibilities at home, with your family, with your career, with your husband, your children, newborn, young child, you still want to show the importance of it is to be out in the community, support your martial arts community, and support other people who want to still participate in capoeira, in martial arts, and you want to show that can be done. And you did that recently on your trip. I don't know how many events you went to, but I saw that you went to a Luanda event. So you went to, is it Mestre Jamaica's event also? And you talked about specifically how the way you felt respected professionally, and as a woman and as a martial artist, the way they treated you there, and the way his students put on a good example of how to act respectfully, and that it starts with the teacher and down to the students on how an event is and what the vibe.
For sure. Thank you. Actually, I'm very purposeful in my travels. I don't travel anywhere for no reason. I actually go with a plan. And usually I have a personal plan for growth when I go to these events, because I'm trying to see how my training is panning out at home, since most of it is done through visualization and mostly with myself. I have to get out there in the community. Second of all, it came to a point where, what am I really going to do for these arts? Okay, I train them. I'm good. I know I'm good because I put in the work, you know? But what am I going to do? At some point, it's like, oh, I want to be the best, but really that's shallow. There's always going to be someone that's better, because that's evolution. Everyone's always better. So I want to be good at it. Great. But then I decided that I wanted to help professionalize the art, because I think it's what's missing right now. There aren't that many female professionals, right? There are, but it's almost like, oh yeah, you're a guy, that's cool, but then you're a woman, that's not so cool. And then not everyone is made the same. Some people are amazing professionals, some people are not. That's it. And Capoeira has gone through a lot this year, as you know, last year, actually, gone through so much through the sexual allegations and so many other things that had been going on. And then so many women were reaching out, so many people wanting to know my opinion, like I was going to be someone's savior. But I truly don't believe about talking about things that I cannot change, right? So I was like, okay, so I have a daughter now, and I was like, would I want my daughter to be in capoeira? Oh, not this way. Really, I don't. All right, let's change it. Let's change it. So since I've been back, I have been helping the community grow. I want to see a change in the art for the better. So these trips that I've gone to, they were negotiated in a particular tone, which is what I'm trying to get women to understand. They were, I'm a mother, I'm taking time away from my family. I need to be able to understand that this is a very professional relationship, right? And I will make the difference in your event. I will make all the difference because I love capoeira and because I advocate for it in a positive light, right? Because I love it so much, I want to see it grow. So when I went to these places, I already set the tone off the bat, you know, this is what I want. I said no to a lot of places. I did, because it's not every place. And I want people who are listening to this to take this into heart. Not every place deserves your presence. They don't. Not every place deserves your presence, because sometimes you go to places and people aren't going to make you feel comfortable. You won't be able to have the games you want. You won't be, but also you have to understand when it's coming from you. Are you a person that's going to events to help grow the art? You know, so meaning like if I'm in an event, I could be a guest, I could be whoever. I'll be like, hey, do you need help? Do you want me to carry something for you? Can I set up? Oh, do you need a new video? Oh, you got a problem with the micro? Can I help you out? I might not belong there. That's not my gym, but I'm pro capoeira, right? So when I've been going to these places, what I've been doing is actually having lots of important conversations with lots of people, because I want them to look at capoeira in a professional sense, not who did what, who's good, who's bad, is what change can you make from now on that can make us be together and really make the art grow? Because when we talk bad about each other, all we're doing is messing up the art. That's really all we're doing. All we're doing is, this guy, this woman, this, oh, but it's her fault. No, how about we just get together and let's make it good. So right now, what I'm going to places because I want to empower people to empower themselves, right? Because I feel empowered enough to do this. So I went to Mestre Jamaica. I went to a couple of events. I went to Mestre Coreba, which was in November. I started traveling, right? And then I went to Mestre Jamaica, and I went to California to Counterbalance, which is Formando Pavão e Chegado from Mestre Boneco. And then just recently I went to Luanda, and all these places were about, you know, I love capoeira so much because I've been away from it. And when you live in a place, like sometimes it takes you leaving where you were and what you had for you to understand the value behind it. So I understand how valuable it is to be around so many amazing capoeiristas and people who actually want to learn the art, right? So right now, when I go to an event, just sitting and clapping, but having everyone clapping, everyone singing, other people making music and people enjoying themselves, I'm already in heaven. You know what I mean? Like for me, it's all good. But when I went to these places, I started talking to the women. I was like, listen, so you know, we need to empower each other more because of that thing I was telling you about.
Yeah, the sexual abuse, all that from last year. Yeah, all the scandal, everything that came out, everything that's coming out. Well, I'll just say this on that, just not to get deviate into that, but I think women, I believe, and I know women at all times should be protected. Men need to protect women. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Women need to be protected. Okay.
Oh, it is. And which is why I ended up putting a uterus here. Like all of us, we came from a woman, you know? So I'm also trying to help people understand the difficulty. So I talk about my struggles because I understood that there's a lot of power in me being vulnerable enough to let people know that I go crazy sometimes and that it's difficult, or that, you know, postpartum, when you're coming back to training, sometimes when you jump, you pee yourself. And I keep telling people, I was like, have you seen your student trying to rush to the bathroom all the time?
Yeah, you talked about that one of your Instagram lives, and you were just and that's such a good support for women who train and all those things. I never heard someone talk about the part, and I never, as a man, I never thought about it, but that totally makes sense, and it gives me more just empathy in general. I already have, thank God, my mom raised me right. I already have a lot of empathy, but that gave me even more listening to you talk about that.
That's what I'm saying. You were raised right. Your mom gave you empathy. That's normal. A lot of people have it. But the problem is we as women are not being clear enough with the struggles. Be like, hey, then you have the mental struggles, the, postpartum depression, a bunch of things. So when I started going to these events, I was like, I want to have conversations with the leaders, and I want to have conversations with the students, and I want people to feel empowered. So when I teach a kids class or when I teach an adults class, I have people do visualization, and I have them feel like they're their most powerful superhero in the world, because we don't believe in ourselves enough. And that is the basis of all problems. It's not your relationship with capoeira. It's not your relationship with the abuser or with the other guy. Yes, definitely, that's terrible. And I want to hold space for those people. However, we need to care about ourselves enough that we don't need that kind of attention to feel good. And this is me saying this, not coming from a place, oh, I've always been perfect. And, caviar, that's me. No, that's me letting people know from a place of, I used to have that view of myself. I used to think that only if I was good, only if I was the best looking, only if I was this, only if I was that, it's like, when is it enough for me to feel good about myself? When I feel good about myself, that's when it's enough, not other people. So right now I'm just empowering people to be like, hey, you're amazing. Have you ever spoken to people and paid attention to how much people talk about themselves negatively?
Me? You're asking?
Yeah. Have you ever?
Yeah, at times. And I even a close friend of mine, I try to remind him, and he's gotten better at it, and I got to work on it too, is to just be kinder to ourselves and don't ever put ourselves down or say that we're not smart or that this and that. Never, because that what you say is like reality. That's the truth. So yeah.
You're right. Words have power. So yeah. So I went to Mestre Jamaica was the first away event I negotiated, right? And then when I went to him, I told him all of that. And right away, it was great because, he told me right away when I told him, listen, I'm a professional. I'm trying to do things right. Let's talk about the numbers. Let's talk about what you want from me, what kind of a class you want. I do this, I do that, I do this. And he's also a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. And that was dope for me to be like, it was me, Mestre Jamaica, Mestre Ninja, Mestre Muralha, all BJJ black belts. I was like,
gang.
I was like, I'm gonna get to play in the Hada and roll with them boys. And it was amazing because right away when I told him where I was coming from, what I wanted to do, he was like, I love what you're doing. I love that you're doing this. I would love my students to have important conversations with you. Please come to my environment. And then when I went there, it was like, I'm not a mestre. I've been in martial arts for a long time, but I'm not a mestre, uma professora. There were all mestres, and they were treating me so well. And you can see it by the way they spoke to me, by their mannerism. You can see it from, the touch, saying hello. They were very respectful of me, of the time I was taking away from my family to be there, of what I was trying to do positively for capoeira. And they are supporting me in my growth. And that's how I know that's a place I want to be. And then when I went to Pavão and Chegado, it's like so different being in an environment where they have a female leader. That's different. It's really cool. Not saying that Mestre Jamaica is not the most amazing person in the world, and his environment is amazing, but he's still making his female students, right? But then you go to like Pavão and Chegado, where Pavão is a formanda.
It hits different. It hits different, right?
The men are coming up to me. They're like, wow, I never knew there were so many tough women out there. I'm so happy to meet more of you. You can see them just celebrating us being together in a space as equals, because that is what they're used to, and that's what we need to get to. But right now there are lots of things like the capoeira over there is different than the capoeira over here as well. So you go to like California, it's a little bit more further away. They play tough. They're amazing with their musicality, transition, so many things, but they don't brawl, right? Over here, they brawl. So it's different this side of the map, right? So we're thinking about
boom, boom. It's
you gotta
on.
be
It's
ready
on
for
like
everything.
popcorn.
Yeah, man. And you know, I'm just having such a good time being out there that I will have a good time even if you hit me. I'll
Yeah.
hit you back with love,
Yep.
happiness. You
If
know, I'll be
that's the
like,
case,
oh,
that's the
you
best
got
kind of
me.
hit to receive and give.
Exactly. And when you reach that mindset, you know, when you reach that mindset, when it's like you understand that everything that's happening is just you exploring the different angles of the art, you get away from this thinking that you shouldn't be close. So I went to California, and the way that like I said, the capoeira is a little different. I did a takedown class.
Oh, great.
Takedown, because we're forgetting about them. Capoeira has
A
takedown.
lost art. It's a lost art. Yeah.
But in capoeira, we have doubles, we have singles, we have tons of takedowns in capoeira.
I learned a double leg, a rastão in capoeira before I started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And when I went to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I was taking everyone down with a rastão.
Yeah, I already knew how to do baianada when I got into jiu-jitsu
Right.
too. I already knew how to do it. And then you're like, oh, but I didn't know how to pop my knees in the ground. So it was just these. I was, oh, you can pop your knees in the ground here. Okay.
You were doing the stand-up capoeira one. We
In capoeira, you do it standing. You're like,
lift them up and dump them over. Yeah.
Yeah, you dump them over from the 5th floor. Blah, blah, blah,
Yep.
blah, blah, right?
Yep.
And the street holders and the street holders.
Oh man.
But
People don't
that's
know
what I'm
about
saying.
that.
So it's the lost art, and I like it. I like to have a little bit of danger in there. There needs to be, because capoeira, this is what it was created for. Yes, capoeira was created for this. Capoeira it's a liberation, is freedom of expression. There's so much that you can do and say with your body in that place. So much can happen between you, the other player, the holder, and it's forever changing, depending upon your personality, right? The struggles you're going through in life will reflect upon the styles of fighting you have in your art. Like, it's all intertwined. And being able to, I didn't really want to be a leader, because when you decide to lead, you take on a lot from other people.
Yeah.
Not just the responsibility, but it's people's emotions and people's dreams and so much. I didn't want to. But then at some point, you're like, you go through this life of struggle, and you go through these things that forge you into being this particular type of person. And I have a voice. People will listen to me. I don't know why, but this is the way it is. So why not use it for something good? Like, it's right there in your face. You almost can't deny it anymore. I tried a couple of times. I was like, no, nothing to do with leading, get away. But then it just calls you. So for me, this is my purpose. I want to make a difference so that tomorrow, the things that bother me today are better, right? So this thing with women being less, that bothers me. This thing with people manipulating other bothers me, right? But you can only be manipulated if you're not empowered enough within yourself. Okay.
It's an interesting,
empower people within themselves.
It's an interesting and important take that takes a lot of, I don't know if bravery is the right word, or women cojones to like really say that to another woman, because sometimes it might not be the easiest conversation to have, right, on that topic with another woman, about look at yourself first. You know, is that what you're describing?
Not just, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's not just for a woman, but for us in general, because of what I do is so male dominated, you know, like you say, you're like, oh, I feel like you're my soul sister, because I got lots of brothers. And when I talk to men, it's like, okay, I'm talking to my mat friend, I'm talking to my training partner, you know, right now, the conversation we're having is very valuable for my growth. So you are my brother and my training partner at the moment. Right.
Right.
And, having these conversations to everyone, because men get manipulated the same. Yeah. Obviously, it's different for women because it comes to a more, you know, it's a sexualized. Women can be a little bit more feeble-minded because of image issues, but men can be manipulated just as much. Yeah. So at the end of the day, is empowering the human, but what I really want to see is female leadership. Female leadership for everybody. I'm not talking about just, you know, women for women. I'm talking about women for everyone through professionalism. And I'm talking about empowering the capoeirista. Be like, what kind of capoeirista do you want to be for real? What are your own principles? because sometimes we go against our principles without knowing, right? Like we do things because someone else is doing it. Maybe it's cool. We go through that. Everybody goes through that, trying to do something different. Oh, they're doing it. Maybe that's going to be, oh, then you're like, maybe it's not my thing. But being able to be honest enough with yourself and with your experience and what it is that you really want out of this art in longevity. So right now you're like, what do you want out of capoeira? I want to look really good and lose weight. Okay. You're in capoeira for a little bit. What do you really want out of capoeira? Oh, I want to travel and get to know the world. Okay, that's also a goal. Okay, what do you really want out of capoeira? Oh, capoeira. For me, it's thinking way over there. It's like, okay, I want to be playing when I'm 80. So every day I'm working towards that goal. I want to be this kind of capoeirista, which right now I understand in my mind what kind of capoeirista I'd like to be. I'm not there yet, but now I understand where to go, right?
Wow.
I do. I think of all of that. So then I'm like,
70 years old, killing it.
I do.
Killing
It's for me, it's all about like, because life is fleeting. Mortality is in your face every day. We got COVID. People are dying left and right. And then you're taking this precious gift that is life. It's precious. You're here every day. You wake up, you're wherever you're coming from, right? You smell and you have different smells of earth and of nature. And then you have freedom, right? Because being in the States is all kinds of freedom. And then, oh, you're angry. You're upset. Life is horrible. You complain. Did you know your body doesn't know? And I say this, I said in podcasts and whenever I speak to people, your body doesn't know, your brain doesn't know the difference between a physical threat and an emotional threat. So if you're thinking that you're emotionally that bad that it hurts, you're going to feel physical pain. It will reflect on your body. So I want to tell these capoeiristas that we don't need to train broken, right? We can simply understand that this is a phase and we need to honor that phase with different tools, right? And that we are, and I spoke to you, listened to the last podcast, right? I was like, we are the example of resilience. How are you going to go
about, I'm sorry, Professor, are you talking about in this moment, are you referring to being injured or mentally, emotionally injured to being resilient? Like, what are you referring to when you talk about that?
Okay. So what I mean is resilience of your body physically, okay, has to do with the way you think of yourself and the program that you're downloading into your supercomputer that is your brain, right? So if you're downloading information into your brain every day that is of complaint, of life is difficult, of I can't do it, limitations to yourself, or also feeling alone, I'm incapable, I hate myself, I can't do it, which it's normal for us. We can get in the whirlwind, right? All of this will present in itself in physical pain and limitations, not one or the other, both physical pain and limitations. So we need to be able to change how we think of ourselves, but we're like, oh, just think different. But sometimes the best way is just to take time to breathe, to not judge yourself, and to find things to be grateful for, to create a mind shift, a mental shift. And if this practice could be 5 minutes long every day, maybe 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes at night, it can rewire the way you think of life and the way you take in information and the capabilities you have, because then you suddenly believe that you are capable versus the opposite. So it's more of a brain game, right? But we think getting into the brain, it's not mind-body connection, it's body, mind, body. So through movement, breath, stretching, making yourself feel good, slowing down, it's easier to rewire up here. And then it will reflect down here. So it's like everything is kind of connected. So at first I thought of fitness of just working out, and I thought of getting good at martial arts and just learning martial arts and getting better at it. But then I realized once you compete, you realize so even more compete when you travel, that it really is all about how you think of you, and there's a really good book. It's called The Power of Perception. Have you read it before?
No, but I've heard of that. Okay. It sounds so familiar, that book.
Read it a couple of times. It talks about how people perceive experience. Because I'm like, okay, well, if the person is not learning, it has to do with the teacher. You have to get across to them, because we all kind of we speak the same language in different wavelengths, right? So I could be saying A, you could be understanding B, and then I'd be like, no, it's A, until we finally understand each other. But it's been more about rewiring, and I'm learning how to compress that into a course right now. And I'm working really hard, and through these conversations and saying things out loud. So I have a notebook in front of me, something always clicks and I'm like, oh, it clicked. Okay.
I love that. And I love that. And that segues into my next question. And I'm gonna let you go pretty soon. I know your family's probably waiting for you. I have just like a couple more things to cover, but I want to ask right now, you're all these things. You have all these, you have your certifications, you have your mastery of these martial arts, or on your way to mastering these martial arts. You're a martial artist, you're an athlete, you're continuously learning new skills, and everything has to do with martial arts, conditioning, strength, breath work. So that's where you're at right now. You're a teacher. What's your long-term goals? What do you see down the line? I can see the coursework you're talking about being a successful, I think to me, you already are a podcaster, and just sharing what you know, your experiences.
Of course, I'm being more transparent about what I want because it's easier to get what I want. So my long-term goals right now is I'm trying my best to set up an online program that will be easy, because I think right now I'm hitting all kinds of athletes. I've been working mainly with jiu-jitsu fighters and with even boxers and MMA, BJJ, capoeiristas, about dysfunctions and the way we use our body throughout the day, right? So right now I'm working really hard and trying to compress that, because I want people to have better mobility through their day. They're thinking of, I want to be a great capoeirista, but when I'm in capoeira, I'll train. But I want people to be like, I'm going to be a great capoeirista, so when I'm at home, I'm going to sit down properly and stand up properly, because it matters. I'm going to breathe properly because it matters. I'll be aligned and I'll move often because it matters. You know, I won't play with my stiff hip. I'll mobilize it before, because it matters. Pain matters. These things matters. So what I'm trying to do is make this information accessible in bite size to help people reprogram their lives and not need me anymore. My dream is to be able to impact the capoeiristas, the jiu-jitsu fighters, so they can understand how to take care of themselves and keep themselves away from injury. Like you said, I do physio training, which is more
What is
about
your physio training? What is physio training?
Physio training is a course. It's pretty new to the United States, but it's certified by the Board of Physical Therapy. It started in the state of Florida. And what it is, it's a more holistic way of approaching injury, not only injury prevention, but also healing of injury. You know, so I can, let's say, partial tears, full tears, obviously you need surgery for a full tear, but partial tears, I'm able to heal, help people to gain their mobility back, understanding how to move their bodies appropriately. Awesome. It's like physical therapy and personal training got together, right? And that's what it is. And I don't do, after doing that course, I don't do like NASM anymore or anything else. I just do that course. And then I specialize, because it was created by a BJJ and capoeirista fighter, right? Female. She's pretty bombs. And it works well because it happened to me. I was in the UAE and I got hurt and I got messed up, and she healed me every single time. Oh, wow. You know, every single time, not just me, but a bunch of us broken people. So when I got certified and I kept going back and forth in between countries, I was working with BJJ athletes. So I got the trial and error hands-on. I do manual trigger point and all of that. And I got to see that breath work can change their body pain within 10 minutes, relatively. And they don't practice enough of it. So I would like to see everyone breathing more, taking care of themselves more. And what I want to do, putting it out to reality, is to have a yearly event that will be pro the empowerment of the human. Meaning like the capoeirista will come and they will learn about not only things to do with their body, but how to connect with their minds and the kind of capoeirista they like to be. I would like to do this across from here to Brazil with women, with men, but just getting people that this idea of understanding where you want to go matters. So we can do right by our principles and the arts and what we want to do in life, because we can't just be an autopilot. I think COVID showed us that we can't be an autopilot. We need to be together. And though capoeira suffered during COVID, it also had amazing successes, right? Because now I do trainings with people who are all over the world online. I reach women all over the world. I reach men all over the world within the capoeira community, which is why I started to speak more Portuguese. It's because I try to do classes there and here. And if it wasn't for COVID, that wouldn't be normal, you know? And then you got to see people who are really there training hard because the camera's like right in your face. You can't really, you know,
Hide,
you can't really lie. You can't hide. You're like there, you know? And COVID and everything that's been happening made us understand that we need to be together. So I want to see unity. I want to be 80 years old in a hall where people truly, truly, truly feel like they're brothers, they're sisters, they care for each other, because we're supposed to be working for the good of people. We're not supposed to be working for ourselves. We don't come here just to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to live my life for me and that's it. No, we're here and we only truly feel happy when we're making others happy. There's no other way.
Definitely. All the, again, this part right here is also in your podcast. Because this is, like you said in your podcast many times, that's another episode or that's another conversation, because there's so much to cover. So much has happened to you, to all of us. That's life, you know. So many things are going to happen to us and are happening to us. Briefly, I'll say that, you know, all the challenges that you went through, and we all go through challenges in life, but you in particular, the ones you talk about and you share your experiences being separated, you go to in depth in your podcast, but from your husband due to him being in Brazil and you trying to get the papers to come to the United States and the complications that happened. None of your guys' fault, by the way. It's just the way things ended up. So you ended up being, you know, having to rely on others for the first time and on, you know, to help you get through all the challenges of being pregnant and alone. It's a wild story, but and the challenges when you were young growing up. What I want to ask you this, Professora, what's your opinion on all the challenges that you've been faced with? Because some are faced with more than others. We all have our cross to bear life, but what do you think of some of the challenges? Why do you think all those challenges were put in front of you? Do you think do you ever think about that? Because I wonder, listening, why are so many challenges put before this wonderful soul, and she's handling it and continues to handle it? And I'm sure it's not easy, with such grace and humanity and honor. You know, why do you think all those things just chose to happen to you? And what's your opinion on that? Or what do you think?
It's God's plan, man. I try, right? I think things happen and they will happen over and over until you understand that you need to give up control. It's very difficult for me. It was very difficult. Nowadays, I understand when I'm being controlling of a situation, right? But I've been through so many situations that I was like, literally, I have no control over what's happening. But I have so much faith, like unwavering faith, that I believe in my resilience. And I believe that everything that happens to me, there's a lesson in there. I already start going through the problem, looking at the lesson. I was like, okay, let's look at this from another angle. What am I supposed to learn here? Right? So I no longer look at obstacles as horrible. Maybe for a minute, I'll be like, oh, and then I'll pull myself together. It's like, because I believe you need to feel feelings. You can't just push them away. So if you want to cry, you need to cry. If you want to ugly cry, you need to ugly cry. You know, that's okay. But then pull yourself together. And then, you know, where is the lesson? There's a lesson. We come to this world. We're given very specific obstacles to become the humans we are. Very specific obstacles. And like I told you, I didn't want to be a leader, but at some point I kind of stopped trying not to, because this is just what is. It's what is, and what's what I'm meant to do. If I'm here and I am able to help, I have this voice and people listen. I remember the first time someone came up to me and they're like, wow, I really admire. I was like, why? Why would you ever? I don't understand. Because I was in that mindset of, I'm horrible. I'm not worth it. I'm not deserving. I'm not, right?
That's crazy.
So,
I mean, but I understand.
So right now, I really believe in the plan. Things are happening all the time, like things that I can't change. And when I see that I can't change it, I just breathe it out and wait. And I know that there is no obstacle that's given to me that I can't surpass if I'm meant to. There's a lesson there. Some way I'm going to surpass it. It's not, even if it's a bad product or that I consider bad or good, you know, at the end of the day, it's an experience. And I wouldn't look at life this way unless I had all of those. Maybe I would be more arrogant. Maybe I wouldn't be as kind to people. Maybe I would only care about myself, and maybe this would never happen. I can't even imagine when I think of myself and the things that I say sometimes and the way I'm presenting myself to people, I don't even recognize me. I would never think I'd be this person. And martial arts gave me all of that, right? So I just have to give back. I have to give back. And this is me giving back.
Where does it come from, this ability to be so transparent, to be, and you also, Liam, you touched on it earlier a little bit, but, and also being able to, I live in San Francisco, California. And so from my experience, I find this very impressive about you. You're really able to maintain and lean into your femininity at all times while being strong, but also while being friendly. I'm gonna say martial arts has a lot to do with it, and capoeira, because we all know capoeiristas are cool. And but like, so where's that ability to come from? I know you had your struggles when you were very, very young. How did you become such a great speaker?
I was horrible at it. That's it. I read a lot. I read a lot. I read every day. I read often. If I'm not reading, I'm listening. I'm listening to other people's point of view. Even when sometimes it bothers me, I just want to know to see how I feel. So I'm constantly exploring communication, and I'm constantly reflecting upon how, like I said, the human I'd like to be. I think of that too. The human I'd like to be. I am that human every day, right? Already. The human I'm trying, no, this is the human I want to be. This is the human I am every day. Okay. Sometimes I mess up. Oh, this is the human I want to be. The human I want to be apologizes. So I go apologize, even though it feels like nails coming out, like it hurts sometimes. And you're like, oh, I have to apologize. I did something wrong. But it takes so much courage and power for you to be able to have those actions to be the human you want. I was very bad at communicating. I couldn't communicate because I have anxiety. The emotions would just come into my throat and like hurt, you know? And at some point, I actually am certified in traumatic crisis intervention, right?
And that's also in the podcast. Listen to that part as well. That is so good.
Traumatic crisis intervention, and working for Easter SEALs. I used to work with teenagers that had emotional and psychological problems. Maybe they were being reintroduced to society and they lived in group homes. And dealing with people who are struggling teaches you a lot about yourself, teaches you that you're also struggling with things that you didn't get over, you know, yet. So at this moment, I just started kind of like redefining my view of things, understanding that I'm not right. The way I see things is the way I see things. Doesn't mean it's the right way. It's just the way I see it. And the way I see it is limited by my experiences. And once I had more understanding of that, and I read a lot, again, I read the 4 agreements all the time.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
And then I put the agreements on the wall and everything.
The whole nine.
I'm not someone who's this way because I was born. No, my life, my environment, my day-to-day, my relationships, the things I do are all towards this person that I want to be, right? Because it doesn't happen like that. You're like, oh, this is where I want to be. Boom, no. So sometimes I wake up and I open my eyes, I remind myself, like, look, I have something I was going to put up in the wall today. Things like this, like live every moment, laugh every day. I make art.
Nice. There we go.
Yes. And this one, it's because I just put them here.
Just like
Maya Angelou.
Like suns with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I rise. Maya Angelou, the best ever. Maya Angelou, yes.
And then I have things in my mirror to remind me of things that I want to change, behaviors. I am active. I am active in being this way. I actively look to learn every day. I have conversations that make me feel uncomfortable all the time, highly uncomfortable, not because they make me uncomfortable kind of weird, but make me uncomfortable because maybe I'm wrong, right? Because ignorance is bliss. And when you step out of that ignorance, it's difficult to understand just how ignorant you are for a second, right? But then it's the opposite too, is understanding that maybe you're not as ignorant as other people, but having enough kindness to someone who's still ignorant to have a conversation with them that will be patient, and that maybe you're going to say one thing that will open up their mind to everything that could happen.
That's doing the Lord's work right there, for real.
That's what I'm saying, man. I'm at a point right now that I really want to, I just want to make people feel good. I'm not down for making anyone feel bad. I'm very blessed with everything that's happened, all the struggles, and the fact that my family's here. I have an amazing job. I do this for a living. This is my love. I love to train, and I do it for a living, and I get to impact people's lives how it impacted my life. Come on now. There's
you created your life for yourself through all these years. You somehow created this amazing life for yourself, and that's awesome. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I want to talk briefly about your family and your husband before we go, and then we'll close out. I want to ask, and then at the end, we always ask, what's your words of wisdom for the audience? So I want to close out by speaking of your partner, the man of the house, your best friend, your husband. When I think of you guys, I think of like Mackenzie Dern from the UFC and the teamwork she has with her husband, and how she brings her daughter to her training camps. Her husband's there. He's not a fighter. He's like a pro surfer, but he's so supportive of her. How important is that support in a relationship? But one thing I think of you is, how do women pick the right partner? Because a lot of times you have a woman like yourself who's so full of light, who's trying to constantly add more light to her life, but they pick someone who's trying to take away that light, which happens all the time, and they haven't done the work on themselves. Your husband is very supportive. You guys are a unit. Mackenzie Dern's husband, he's very supportive of her. You can just see it on TV. How do you pick the right person? How do you avoid the wrong person when you want to be someone who's positive? And how important is teamwork in a family, work as a unit?
Yeah, so for us, I'm very blessed. My husband is an amazing human, but he's an amazing human. I've worked so hard for him that I know that I don't want to work hard for any other relationship ever again. That's how it is right now.
That's
this
cool.
is
That's
it for me. No, this is it for me. We worked very hard. It was so many years, so many struggles. I'm done, so he is very supportive of me, but he had a very hard time understanding capoeira. So we didn't start there because his view of capoeira wasn't a good one.
I know. I've heard that before. There was, what do you call someone from Rio de Janeiro again? Carioca, right? So one of my old Luta Libre coaches, who I really respected and was a great guy and a great leader, he talks so bad. He's a native Brazilian about capoeira when I met him. And it shocked me. I'm like, are you serious, bro? And then my friend at the time, he's from Minas, he explained to me, that the guy's a Carioca, and just that's his mentality in that area of what capoeira is. And I was so offended, but now I kind of know that people have these negative perceptions of capoeira, even native Brazilians. Is crazy, Yeah,
but that's what I'm saying. It's because they, like I said, you're the representation of your art. You could practice capoeira. You can be a good human. You could practice capoeira. You could be a bad human, and whoever sees will be their view of the art, not of you. They'll be like, oh, that capoeirista is a bad person, but the other ones are amazing. No, they're going to be like, capoeira is horrible, which is another reason why I'm working towards the professionalism, having people understand places that are of respect, that are doing right by the art. A lot of capoeiristas are against, a lot of Brazilians are against capoeira. It's how it is, unfortunately. It's the problem. And
you had these conversations with your husband about it, and
my husband didn't like it for the longest. He was like, oh, I used to, he grew up around Mestre Virgulino, is his friend.
Mestre who?
Virgulino.
No way.
Yeah, so my husband is from the Nordeste. His nickname is Vaca because he does this sport in Brazil that you drop a cow in between two lines. Literally grab a cow by the tail, you drop it between two lines.
Okay.
So they met there because they're both there in the same gym. So the way he saw capoeira, he's like, oh, people don't really take it serious because he comes from judo and jiu-jitsu, which is like a lot of respect. And then capoeira back in the day, that capoeira is catching up now. It's doing better, but you know how it is. It's not the same environment. So in the beginning, he was like, I don't want you to go. But then I had already been through that, having relationships that weren't supportive of the art. And it hurt.
Yeah.
So bad. It hurt enough for me to understand that will only happen again if I allow it. So the experience I had the many experiences I had prior to my husband were horrible, like very bad. So when we got together and I fell in love with him and we were together, great. And my Capoeira Mestre introduced me to my husband, which is funny.
Oh, that's a funny little note. Okay.
Because he's also a black belt from our team. My Capoeira Mestre
okay.
is a black belt from our team. Yeah.
Awesome.
So he's the one who introduced us. He's the one who got me to like start going out with him. We fell in love, whatever. And then at some point he's like, you know, you go to these capoeira places and, you know, the guys are only there to look at you, because that's how capoeira was perceived. So it was up to me also to change that picture for him, right? So then it became, okay, I'm a mother. I want to be in capoeira. I'm no longer a young little girl who's going to be hanging out with a bunch of boys. I want to be in respectable environments. Yeah. Where is that? Where is that really? Really? Not where that kind of is. It's like, where is it really? Because we know some places, when you look superficially, you're like, oh, this is a great place of respect. But when you're there, you know it's not.
Yeah,
you know what I
mean? The vibe. Yeah.
Yeah. So I started talking to him about it, and I told him that I wouldn't leave capoeira. It stressed our relationship at first, but then he understood. But then eventually when he practiced capoeira, he understood more. Right. So right now, I needed to be clear with him and he needed to be clear with me, because I think marriage is about communication, even though it doesn't feel good. You know, I sometimes I don't want to hear how he feels. How I feel is much more important. What do you mean? You know, but really what you need to do is listen to each other, dish out the dirt and be like, okay, let's get to a place where, you know. And my husband, even though he was far from me the whole time, I've been studying. Again, I've had my physio training exam was in the middle of the night while breastfeeding with a flashlight. Like that. With a flashlight. I passed that.
Son.
I almost woke up my daughter because I screamed like inside, you know. But my husband, though he was far away, he was like so supportive. So supportive. I know it's difficult. I know I'm not there, but I know you can't do it. All this support was kind of like, you know, how can I can make this better. I can build an environment or help navigate people through an environment that will be pro-family, because capoeira is calling for that now, right?
Yeah, and you talked about that. That's important to you, making capoeira more pro-family. I think that's great for all martial arts, but especially capoeira.
Yeah, we need to because we have events and, you know, we need daycare at events. There's so many things that we need and are not happening right now. But the fact that we're together already helps. When I go to an event that I know is used to taking kids, I know my baby girl is going to be going from arm to arm, and other kids will be coming through my arm too, you know.
Takes a village.
Yeah, it's about community. It is a village. That's what we're there, you know. And what he told me, how he expressed in his view of capoeira, hurt to hear, but was good to hear, because then I realized that he was right in a lot of places. And then I realized that I had the power to change it if I really wanted to. So he's highly supportive. It's kind of, our dynamic is crazy. One of us sleeps each night if our daughter is having a hard time. When we go to the gym, I teach all the kids programs. And then he picks me up with the baby already in the car seat, and we just trade the driver, and he goes in the gym and I get in the car and I come home, you know. And our dynamic is like, oh, I'm going to go to an event. Oh, I have to go teach a jiu-jitsu seminar. Then I help him. If I have to teach a capoeira thing, then he helps me. But then we make sure that we keep the family in priority, because that is priority. It's family. My priority is my family. And everything else comes second. I love capoeira. And I think that now capoeira is becoming a better environment where I can be like, I'm going to take my whole family. We're going to have a party together, and everybody's going to respect me. And I am sure of that. That's the kind of experience I have anytime I travel right now, because that's the kind of experience I want.
That's the standard.
Yeah, I don't want any other experience. I'm not there for anything, but I want to learn. I want to be with people who I admire, who will make me want to be a better person, who will give me knowledge. And in return, I can do that for them as well. It's always an exchange for me. And
great vibes. Great vibes.
And always, I don't deal with, I want to be there to have the best time of my life. That's what I'm there. It's like my club, but it's not a club. It's capoeira.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can turn into a club at the end, samba de roda or something, in a good way. And then there's the band, you know. Yeah. Well, lastly, before we go, who is the person that's in your life, or who's someone that really helped you? Could be a Capoeira Mestre, could be a relative. Who's someone that really inspired you to become, or to help you on your journey to become who you are today, or someone that you really look up to? And lastly, what are your words of wisdom?
Okay, so the person who inspired me, I have many people, right?
Yeah, of course.
We talked about the nucleus. The very first person who inspired me to be better is my mestre. I call him Dad, right? Because I met him very young. And he's someone who, I think I spoke about it in one of the podcasts too, but the gym would always have meetings to kick me out because I was too violent, right? I was just all over the place. I couldn't have a conversation. Remember I said I couldn't have a conversation? I couldn't have a conversation. For the first couple of months, I was called bicho do mato, like animal from the middle of the woods,
Okay.
because I didn't know how to interact.
Wow.
But my mestre had patience for me. My mestre called me into the office privately to let me know the things that I did wrong, how I could do better. He suspended me if I did something wrong. I got that white cord, travel around with the white cord. And he had patience when the gym didn't want me there. Everyone was like, she's not worth it. So many people said bad things about me because I was reactive at that point of my life. I had just gone through all that bullying, all that, survival, and I was still in survival mode when I met him. And he was patient enough to say, listen, you are so talented. You are meant for this, but you need to be patient. So that's the first person that really, I love him, and I owe the person that I am today to him, because no one had to be nice to me at that point. And if no one was nice to me, then maybe I would have gone way downhill because I was already kind of there. I was depressed, huge problems with body issues, imaging, like how I looked, how I wanted life to be, how there was nothing that was mine. There was no one that I was free. My mother used to work all the time. So I was always taking care of my brothers. I was always for the family. I had nothing of mine. Capoeira gave something that was of mine and something that gave me no boundaries. But I didn't know that unless I wouldn't have known that unless I had someone to guide me to see it that way. To see it that way. So I would train Capoeira with him, but then we would go to the Jiu-Jitsu gym that I trained and we would train together there. So I ended up having at the gym we trained Jiu-Jitsu in, because I only trained no-gi at first. I started no-gi real young. So there we were equal partners, right?
Okay.
Spar with him a couple of times. I was just another student in class. Then when we went to Capoeira, I was a student. So it got me to have a different dynamic. And my master didn't like to train women hard. So I made him do that, right? And in turn, he trained me hard, but also he was patient. Like, I don't know if I would have had that much patience for me. Do you know what I mean? So he's it. Other than that, for my capoeira that I play today, I give thanks to everyone who's been in my road, right? Because people come to you, they give you a tip here and there, right? People who care about you, they'll let you know that you can do something better here and there, right? And all this feminine aspect of life and all this that's going on, it hasn't. I used to hate being a woman. I only understood the power in it as I got older and as I was surrounded by more women. When I surrounded myself with more women, I saw the value in that relationship for growth, the value in having other women go through struggles with you, the value of being sane when you feel insane. Right?
Good. That's good. That's good.
That's how I feel right now. So it's like everyone, but then you have, people who marked me. Like the first time I saw Jo play, what?
Oh, Mestre Jo? Mestre
Yeah.
Jo? I played her before when she came to visit Berkeley back in the day. She's amazing. That's what I'm saying. She's dope. Like, she's what's up.
She's amazing. She's amazing. She's the first referral we had as women, many of us, to what a woman could be like, how to bridge the gap. So it was more like everyone, not just the graduates, the beginners. I appreciate seeing an old person start a new art. I have so much appreciation for that. So the little things. And then for the words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom, please.
See the diamond in the struggle. See the diamond in the struggle. And don't wait not another second to begin a relationship with yourself. It took me so long to learn. That's so valuable. And I only feel good about myself, and I'm honest in the way I speak, and I feel grounded and rooted into my truth because I got to know myself. Not the good things, everything. Meaning I know what makes me angry. I know what makes me tick. I know sometimes I'm not so pleasant. So it gives me more tools to learn how to manage myself, but have people understand why I am the way I am, right? So that's it.
How can people who want to find out more about you, where can they follow you at? Give us your socials, please. Anything that you want to give.
So I have a website. It's called rootedstrengthmethod.com. And that's where I'm hopefully going to be putting the work through. Right now I'm building, right? And then things happen, but it's going. It's almost out there. And then if you want to follow me on social media, I am at Rooted Strength Method for the work. But the page that I move more, it's the Morena Capoeira BJJ. That's the page I move the most because I notice for people, it's more interesting to see realistically the person that I am than the work that I do, because then I can impact people with, mental health and tiny practices and, sometimes just being myself, because it took me so long to even be courageous enough just not to be another copy of something I saw somewhere, because that's how hardwired it was. So
I want to bow to you real quick because you're also a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu sensei. It's been an honor talking to you. I enjoyed it so much. Thank you. And thank you for being with us today. And that's it.
Thank you so much, brother. Thank you. I appreciate it.